I wanted to be them. I wanted to be like them. And then when the thing that I wanted to be like turned out to be not what I thought it was, that's like, you have to stop and look at yourself and be like, well, what am I doing? Like, where do I find value then? And that's where I think it's important to remember that Christ should be the priority, because he is perfect and he is never going to let you down.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Saints Unscripted. Today we have got David and Brett here with me, and I'm Caitlin, if you forgot my name, which you probably have. I'm forgettable. I'm just kidding. What? Why do I stop? Okay. Anyways, we are going to have an interesting conversation today. This is actually one that I wanted to talk about, that I brought to the table, but we're going to talk a little bit about kind of our heroes in a way, influencers, politicians, people we look up to, I don't know, athletes, and kind of what that means and how that can sometimes disappoint us because we're all fallible children of God. First, I wanted to ask, have you guys had anyone like who's like you just really look up to? I don't know, anybody, and they have just disappointed you? Has that ever happened to you before? Like your image of them has just kind of gone down a little bit?
Mm-hmm. I, in general, just have low expectations of fellow human beings. So,
has that always been the case, or is that something that you've had?
No, it wasn't even reactionary. Just at a young age, I knew to protect myself with really low expectations.
Man, I'm like the opposite. I have high expectations of people. It's kind of, I recognize that in myself, but I like seriously think way better of people and I feel like I get disappointed a lot, which is, again, something I need to work on.
It's a hard balance to find, because like it's good to like give people the benefit of the doubt, right? And like think the best of people. But I think we just have to be careful about like kind of that kind of idol worship, right? Like, because if we get to the point where like they mean that much to us, like we're worshiping these people, and then they, you know, do something disappointing, like that can be really painful.
Yeah.
Like, whether you know them personally or not.
And Caitlin, I don't think there's anything wrong with that attitude. It might just be hard to be married to in some cases if you have high expectations for like a spouse or someone. That's all.
How does my spouse feel, Brett?
Honestly, I've met him a couple of times. He's a great guy. Personable.
Oh my gosh. Brett's my husband. I don't know if you guys knew that. I just wanted to put that out there in case we're like flirting during an episode. I don't want people coming after me. So just putting that out there.
I liked what you were saying though. I was thinking about my Max Hall story in Heroes. For those of you who aren't familiar, Max Hall is a BYU quarterback in like 2010 to 2013. I wouldn't call him like one of my heroes, but I enjoyed watching him play, and the quarterback's like the captain of the team. And for one, he lost some pivotal games. If you're out there, Max, I forgive you for that. However, afterwards, when Max went to the NFL, he ended up getting like a really bad concussion and ended up getting addicted to painkillers, which kind of led to a downward spiral. And then he ended up on the news for armed robbery of a bank. And I remember seeing that, like, Max, like, what happened to you, man? I was like looking through his life story, and that was like a somewhat disappointing like influencer or hero moment.
Dang. That's rough. And like you feel bad because it's like, I don't know, it's not necessary. Like after the concussion and all these things, it's just like an unfortunate change of events, turn of events for him. But yeah, I think that especially today where there are so many people who influence us. Now we have the term content creators. We have the people that we follow on TikTok, the people that we like love their podcasts, the authors, the politicians, the actors. Maybe not so much the actors these days. I feel like people are a little more wary of the rich and famous. But even so, like thought opinion leaders.
Taylor Swift. She's like the exception. Like everybody is like in love with her, even though she's, rich and famous. But
that's true.
For now, though, she'd
Taylor
break
Swift
all of
is
our hearts.
Untouchable.
What are you doing,
I love
Caitlin?
Taylor Swift.
You're falling
I didn't used
for
to.
it.
I know. But if I were to find out that Taylor Swift was like doing some shady stuff, I'd be really disappointed in her, honestly.
Yeah.
Because through her song lyrics, she seems so genuine, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, but I think that also as members of the church, we tend to be like also susceptible to this because within our niche of thought leaders, we have people who are kind of known to be like LDS influencers like us. I mean, maybe are we influencers? I don't know. But we're putting our stuff out there. We've been doing it for 7 years, so hopefully. But yeah, like I think that sometimes we look and we really value the opinions of these people who have a big following and their thoughts on the gospel and church leadership and our doctrine. And sometimes that can feel like a lot and we look up to those people. But also I think we need to realize that they also are human beings and have like misjudged situations and have their own flaws. And in lieu of, you know, things that like famous people who are members of the church have also disappointed us like often. And I think it's important. The reason I want to bring this up is because like, what do we do? Like how much do we look to these people for our own spiritual growth and our testimonies?
Well, first, go ahead, David.
Well, I was just going to make the comment that I think that it's about having your priorities straight. Like it's not that you shouldn't look up to anybody else, but like you need to have Christ as your obviously number one, you know, person, God you're looking up to, right? And then everybody else, like take the good from them that you see, but with the perspective that like your identity is separate from theirs and that you need to be careful when you like allow their influence to become like part of your identity, if that makes sense. Like
100%.
For example, in high school, I don't know about you guys, but I was an impressionable young man and I looked up to people. Yeah. Well, actually, I was really good at like rejecting peer pressure. I was very good at that. But you're a kid. You're looking up to people. You're making friends. You think people are cool and you like their music and, you know, the things they do. And for me, like there were a couple of people, members of my ward, that were just like, I idolized these people.
Brother Johnson.
Dang it, Brother Johnson. No, but like they were so influential in my life. And then things took a turn separately on separate occasions for both of those people. And I was just crushed. And it was just like, I think that I had looked up to them so much that like I had kind of assimilated part of their identity into mine. I don't know how to say that, but like I wanted to be them. I wanted to be like them. And then when the thing that I wanted to be like turned out to be not what I thought it was, that's like, you have to stop and look at yourself and be like, well, what am I doing? Like, where do I find value then? And that's where I think it's important to remember that Christ should be the priority because he is perfect and he is never going to let you down like we fallible mortals. So, and that also applies to us for the people watching. Like we're all fallible. We're all going to make mistakes. So
yeah, like don't use us as like your only source of like gospel knowledge and your only source of like spiritual enrichment, because like we are meant to be like a supplement to that and an additional help. But if you're not working to form a relationship with Jesus Christ on your own time and like with the scriptures and with prayer and putting in the work yourself as well, like you're just taking our word for it. For all you know, we could just be like lying. You just don't know. But really, like we are meant to be a supplement to what you are.
If you're not subscribed to Jesus, you shouldn't be subscribed to us yet.
Hey.
Love that. Go subscribe to Jesus.
Yeah, so for anyone Provo based, like if you're driving around and you get cut off and like they just put their hand out the window and flip you the bird and you come up next to them, you see David or Caitlin, like don't let that shake your faith.
I'm so scared of that
don't
happening, honestly. And of course, we want to address a lot of our audience who are not members of the church, who are currently investigating the church and maybe have missionaries who they're talking to. And like, I remember being a missionary and having that super strong connection with the people that I taught. And I think that is so important to a lot of investigators, is the relationship they have with their missionaries. And like, so many of them look up to their missionaries. But again, missionaries will go home from their missions a lot of the time, and their perspective on life like changes, and they would leave the church or do something maybe that disappoints the people who they were teaching. But yeah, like even missionaries, like all of us are just like members of the church, not members of the church. We're all just super, I don't know. We mess up, y'all.
I think that missionaries know that about other missionaries better than anyone. Like when you're living with somebody 24/7 as a missionary companion, like you very quickly learn that they're totally human and that sometimes they get on your nerves or do things that are disappointing to you.
Like Elder Baker doesn't get up till 8. He doesn't exercise.
Dang it, Elder Baker.
I don't even know if he reads the scriptures, but he's very, very nice to people. He gets out there and does the work. If there's any Elder Bakers out there, I'm sure you're fine. I'm sorry to use your name.
I know. I'm like, wow, targeting the bakers.
But yeah, people have rough edges, but can still do the Lord's work and inspire people. Just remember, that's not like a solid, like perfect individual.
Yeah, it shouldn't be your solid foundation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it highlights kind of like how important it is for you to have your own testimony. Like, I think that everybody starts off kind of being influenced by others, by your parents or by the missionaries or whoever. But like, it's so important that you build on you find that foundation of Christ and like you make that your own. You make your own decisions. You come to your own conclusions, because if you don't and you're relying on somebody else, if they go off the rails or just choose a different path in life, like, are you just going to follow in their footsteps? Or like you need to know or believe for yourself. And that brings me to a quote. Can I read this quote? This is from Elder Waddell.
Elder Waddell talked about this in the recent general conference about like who we make our heroes, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's called More Than a Hero.
Mm-hmm. Such a great
I'm just having a lot of song lyrics about heroes go through my head.
Right.
I need a hero. I'm holding out for a hero till the end of the night.
I was thinking Zero to Hero.
I was thinking More Than a Feeling.
Just like that. Huh?
I like that too.
Which one were you thinking?
Boston's More Than a Feeling. Maybe it was the way David said it with his notes.
Or also, there's a hero.
Can we get 3 more minutes of this, David? Don't stop.
I don't recognize that one.
I wrote a parody of that song about Harry Potter when I was younger. It's terrible.
I think we've got another episode idea.
It's terrible. When I was like, I don't know, 12 or something.
Wait.
Or 18.
This needs to be shared.
I don't even know. I am so embarrassed about it. I'm not going to. It's gone. I'm going to get back to this.
Back to the quote.
Yeah, back to the quote. Little tangent there. The hero, our hero, now and always, is Jesus Christ. And anything or anyone that distracts us from his teachings as found in the scriptures and through the words of living prophets can negatively impact our progress on the covenant path. I just need to like write that on a sticky note and stick it on my phone whenever I watch YouTube or something like with influencers.
Have it be like a right there by the side.
And actually, President Nelson has talked about that a couple of times too. At one point, he said that we shouldn't look to only like social media for our... He said that, right? He did say that at one point. Man, we're going to have to find that quote.
President Nelson,
I meant
he's
to
like,
find
if
it.
your only source of like information is social media, like you will struggle spiritually in these latter days.
Yes. Yeah. And then he also mentioned that in the recent conference too, just about where we get our resources, just like our spiritual nourishment is important. And I this is kind of interesting talking to you guys because I'm pretty sure that neither of you are like super active on social media, right? Are you guys like...
I'm a passive
you're more...
viewer,
Okay.
but not an active poster.
Okay.
I have a bunch of burner accounts where I stir up controversy, but other than that,
It's been you.
There is just so much communication now and so much dissecting of what leaders say and what is done within the church. And I think that one of the biggest, and maybe I'm just being too like, I don't know if I should say this, but I think that one of the biggest threats to our faith is honestly like division within the church.
oh, totally.
Absolutely.
Because of this like social phenomenon that we're a part of, just like modern day, and access to lots of information. So just to reiterate what you said, I think it goes back to like, we just really, and this has like been a huge reminder to me that I really need to focus on developing my personal relationship with Christ and then go from there. Cause like, yeah, people are, yeah.
No, for
Go
sure.
ahead.
I think it's important to maybe like build loyalty towards principles and truths as opposed to people, with the exception of Christ, because he's a person, but he's also described as truth, right? So like, I think he counts as both.
Totally.
Definitely Christ. But like when it comes to like when we look up to other people, like I think it might be helpful to take like the principles or the attributes we see in them and say like, oh, Timothy is a very honest person. Instead of saying, I want to be like Timothy, say, I want to be an honest person. Like take the principle and try to apply that in your life.
I love that.
Because then I think if we don't, and if we're just attached to the person, then when the person, falls off the deep end for whatever reason, I think sometimes we fall into this like trap of defending the person past maybe the point where we should, because we're attached to them and we've invested so much of ourselves in them, and I think it might just be safer to take the good we see and attach ourselves to that.
Here's a 30-second analogy. I work with quad rotors, drones, UAVs, whatever you want to call them. And one time we went out flying, and this guy pulls out this monstrosity that has 8 motors. I've never seen it. It looks like an attack dog. I'm like, so, Jared, what's up with the 8 motors? And he's like, if 3 of them go out, it can still safely land and can maintain stability depending on which 3 go out. I'm like, okay. It's like that little quad rotor with 4 motors. If one of those motors goes out, like this thing is a steaming pile of junk on the ground in 7 seconds. And the idea being like our testimonies and our faith in Christ like are held up by different principles. And like, let's just make sure some of our motors aren't people, but rather like the principles of faith, like attributes of Jesus Christ or other things like that. Like they shouldn't be people because people can fail and your motors can go out.
Yeah.
It's a major, sorry, go ahead.
And I think that also helps us, like when we see people we love, whether it's people we love or that people don't know who we follow or people we look up to, if we can remember like everyone has attributes that are admirable, and if we can look at those even when these people are going through a hard time, like we can still recognize that this person has these qualities that we look up to. And like, I don't know, for me, that gives me hope, honestly.
No,
like everyone has good about them that is still a fact, even when they make mistakes. So, but yeah.
What we're talking about is kind of a major theme of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. If anybody watches that.
Okay, I've been meaning to watch that.
See, that
but
might
I
be
have not.
That might be one of those things where people are watching, they're like, oh, David watches Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's a running theme, like never meet your heroes, right? Like there are multiple episodes throughout the seasons where the characters meet these people that they look up to and are just every time destroyed by them because it's such a terrible thing. But
this episode was not sponsored by Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Anyway, well, moral of the story, make sure that you're subscribed to Jesus and maintain that relationship with him, because I think that's the most important thing we can do.
Amen.
love it.
Amen. And thank you guys for having this discussion today. And thank you all for watching. We love you all. And of course, please subscribe if you haven't. And we'll see you next time.